Hello, everyone. Welcome to this 2026 Comrades webinar series. Really looking forward to these. Excited to be here with you all. If you are here and in the chat, let us know where you're from. I see Hank is here. He says he's from Cape Town, but he's listening in Vereeniging. Those are two very far apart cities. But let us know where you're from. Let us know which number comrades you're going for. If you're a novice, if you are going for your green number, if you're going for back-to-back, which also makes you an up novice. But yeah, we are really looking forward to being here. We've got an awesome program lined up for you. So I will go through that in just a little bit. Let me just get through some of the introductions with everyone who is here. I see Anand Patel is from India, so that's awesome. Kerry Ann is in sunny UK. Kerry Ann, I'm hoping that's I'm assuming that's sarcasm because I've heard it's been raining every day in 2026. Pretoria, someone from Randburg, someone going for number 9. So really, looking forward to this. So let me just get into a couple of introductions before we get into a couple of the meat of the evening and going through the rest of the night. So let me just do a couple of introductions. He's sitting in the background for now, but he is here. The person that you see on screen there is Coach Lindsay Perry. He has a postgraduate degree in sports science. He is known as the official Comrades coach and has been for what is nearly his double green number for the number of years that he has been doing this. Lindsay, has taken our athletes to at least 4 Olympic Games. He has also coached many athletes to some of the world's most prestigious and well-known events, one of which being Comrades. He coached Caroline Wasman to her gold medal, as well as Shanae Bosman as well. And he's not too shabby a runner himself. He has a marathon PR of 2:45 and a Comrades best of 7:11 as well. So welcome to Linz, and we'll bring him on in just a little bit to teach us and tell us all things Comrades. We also are lucky enough to have Nontutuko Mashimani with us. Nontutuko is a very well-established Comrades runner herself. She has run 8 Comrades and 8 Two Oceans Ultras. She's an international marathoner as well as a 100-mile trail finisher. So nothing too simple there. She is also on the CMA board, right, and is chairperson of CSI and the Charities Committee. And she'll be joining us for that tonight. And is ethno-medicine practitioner specializing in nutrition and iridology, so knows her stuff as well. So very excited and very blessed to have Nontutuko with us tonight. Then we also have a guest speaker. So Nick Chibwe. Nick is an endurance runner, a leader, and an entrepreneur. He is the CMA brand ambassador for Zambia. He is obviously a Comrades runner. He has done 5 Comrades. He has finished 5 Comrades. And he has a Comrades PB of 10:52, which was in 2019 for the up run. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Shona Hendricks. I am the head of the female athlete program here at Coach Perry, and I created the Running Through Menopause training framework. I've done a number of international marathons, a number of South African marathons. I've done 6 Two Ocean Ultras and 7 half-iron distance triathlons. I'm the former head of sports science at the University of Pretoria. I have a postgraduate degree in sports science, an MBA, and a CSCS certification. So really, I'll just be hosting things tonight, trying to make sure that everything runs smoothly, but also I'll be taking you through a presentation on something that runners love to talk about. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. But let me just tell you what we're going to be going through tonight, all right? So we are going to be, we have Nick Chibwe, as I mentioned, who's our guest speaker, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his journey. Nontu's going to talk to us about the Run for Charity, and then the coach is going to come on and focus on where we should be now. What are we really focusing on and what we need to focus on for the next 4 weeks? We're going to talk about qualifying, we're going to talk about seeding, and we're going to talk about strength training. So let me just bring on the coach in the meantime, just to say hello to him. Hello, Linz. Welcome to the start of 2026. Here we go.
Yeah, how's it, Shona? Amazing. Yes. We're already in February, so it feels like we are getting close. I have been going on and on to people about being patient, and I guess we need a little bit more of that. Because the real training will start in March. But yeah, we are at the start of this journey, and a lot of people are very nervous about the journey. We've got a large number of novices this year, and we had a road show on Tuesday night, and it was literally well over 100 of 98% novices. So yeah, excited to be here and very excited to be running. I haven't run Comrades since 2017, so in some ways I'm feeling a little bit like a novice too. So yeah,
Excellent.
very, very excited to be entered, qualified, and ready to take on the challenge in 2026.
Brilliant. Excellent, Linz. Thank you. I'm going to bring our Nontutuko on in just a little bit, but let me bring our guest speaker on. So Nick, welcome to the Comrades Marathon webinar. I'm going to leave Lindsay on as well in case he wants to chime in with a couple of questions. But I guess as the ambassador to Zambia, the CMA ambassador from Zambia, maybe just tell us a little bit, quite quickly, around your Comrades journey and what makes Comrades really special to you.
Thank you for hosting me. I'm Nicholas Chiwe from Zambia, Lusaka, and then I'm the official brand ambassador for Comrades Marathon Association. My first Comrades journey started in 2019 when I ran my first up run with my personal best 10:52:46 seconds. And from there, my passion just grew of a race I kept on dreaming one day I'll do. And out of my achievement, I inspired a lot of people in our community, the running circles. So Comrades is a race which I've taken much participation from my heart, and out of it, I've met friends, I've built families around here and in South Africa as well. And I'm well known in South Africa. At times I'll travel with my colleagues from Zambia. They'll say, do you live in South Africa? They'll ask me that question because of the warmth I've gotten out of knowing people who run Comrades. So really my journey started officially, I would say, in 2019 when I took my first up run race.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And that was your first one, and that was your PB. So that's amazing. And as Lindsay mentioned, we got so many novices. How did you experience that first one? That's your PB, but what was that like for you? Yeah, any stories or war stories to share from that first one that essentially was your PB as well?
I'm saying it's my personal best because I've run 5 Comrades. Last year was my 5th Comrade. And the 2019 is my best time because that was my bronze, and the last 4 Comrades, after COVID kicked in, we are still getting back to our original fitness, the way the ideal things used to be. So the race really has transformed me in so many aspects, physically, mentally, spiritually. I've grown. I'm better than I was in 2019. Even the way I understand running now, it's different from the time I started running Comrades or the first race I took.
Lindsay, you have a question there? Just check your sound.
Sorry, I couldn't get myself off mute. Nick, any special memories though that stand out from that first trip between Durban and Pietermaritzburg?
Well, they say the best race at Comrades is the first race you run. As a novice, when you go with your own expectation, because before that you would have heard of stories, what happens at Comrades and the experiences people face. But for me, the memories I have is that excitement. I took the race as me, not as others' experience or based on the stories I've heard. I took my own journey, my own experience of facing poly shots. I heard a lot about poly shots, but it was just a beautiful journey, and it made me realize the potential in me that if you put your mind, your strength to something, really you can conquer anything. So I really appreciate my first race, and I remember the other guy I was looking forward to meet who inspired me most to run Comrades was the late Zolani. I don't know if you remember the amputee. Well, it wasn't official. He ran and did Comrades, but you can imagine his message reached Zambia. And I looked at myself to say, if I am able-bodied, why can't I take up this challenge? So the best moment is when I met Zolani. I hugged him. I said, "You did this. You motivated me." I think that's the best memory I'll ever live, and appreciating Zolani. May his soul rest in peace.
That's magic. It's really magic. Yeah, and you said you live, you're in a fairly small country, you're in a small community, but you've managed to come back and run the race 5 times. So 4 times since your first, and there was a pandemic in between. So effectively, you stayed motivated enough for 7 years. So yeah, maybe share with the listeners, like, what keeps you motivated, and how do you keep putting in the training that you need to put in to finish Comrades year after year?
So basically, the story behind my running journey embodies on health matters, I would say, because before I started running, I was chubby. I was big. At one time, I played rugby. After rugby, I was off season. Then I gained too much weight. Then hypertension kicked in. And at one time, when I went to the hospital, the doctor advised me to change my lifestyle because he said, "You are young for this kind of stuff. So you take up responsibility, take care of yourself." So from that, I started shifting my mindset to say, what sport can I do which will help me to take care of myself? Because it is my responsibility to take care of this body. And they say health is wealth. And then I started that journey. From it, I really trained so hard in 2018 because by then Zambia is a small community. Now that running is just that out of what we've achieved as a community with other colleagues who've come to Comrades, we've spread this kind of awareness. And now that we've even got big races which have come on board, and everyone now, every morning you wake up and you see someone is running. So it was a journey, I would say, started way back in 2018 with that aspect, bearing in mind that I want to enhance my health, and brought in the aspect of Comrades and the training. The training, really, I can't lie. You have to be serious. I've got a principle of 2 Ds, determination and discipline, because the discipline aspect comes in that you do what you're supposed to do. At a time you've said, I'm going to train. The determination is that you want to achieve your goal at a specific period. You've said that I'm going to get this. So all these factors, I worked on myself. And like I said, really, Comrades has transformed my life, my journey, and I'm better than I was yesterday. Of course, through the mercy and grace of God who gives us life. I've been prayerful in all I do, and I commit everything, even the sport, in the hands of God to say, may His grace take me everywhere where He always sustains me. That's been my journey.
Amazing.
Cool.
I absolutely love that. And then I think a really important question, Nick, and you know, something that we're quite spoiled with South Africans. We grew up with Comrades on our doorstep, literally, you know, like, and we travel down and watch the race often. We would as a family, you know. And for you coming from Zambia, like, what advice would you have for people, you know, that are traveling across our borders? You know, what are things that you would want to advise people on coming to South Africa, and perhaps in particular Durban? You know, maybe, yeah, I mean, you've obviously got that experience. It's a closer travel, you know, maybe not so much of some of the guys in the chat are from Brazil, but yeah, any advice that you would give some people coming into Durban for the race?
South Africa is a beautiful country, the rainbow nation. You are warm, your hospitality, the infrastructure, the facilities, and the kind of level of development you've reached. Of course, where I'm coming from, we are still developing, I would say. And so yes, you have challenges here and there, like any other countries. You know, it will have challenges here and there, but if you know where you are in South Africa, you are safe. You know, but you don't take it for granted to say that you compromise on security aspect. So if you need to travel to South Africa, you need to know where exactly you want to go, whom you'll be with, and what business are you going for. And people say, no, South Africa is dangerous. South Africa, there are thieves everywhere. But really, every place has got thieves and crime is everywhere. But of course, what gives comfort is where you are going and what business are you going for. So if you need to travel to South Africa, plan your trip. Like I do I've traveled to Cape Town by road with colleagues just to come and run 2 oceans. We've gone to those extremes, but we've driven and come back to Zambia. So the best way is always just start plan early. Your planning should start early. Know where you want to go, what races you want to run, and hotels they are there. You just book and arrange and see what best service you can get. I think put your documents in place. Of course, they are like in my case, we don't require visa when you are traveling to South Africa. Can come, stay 30 days and back. And it's 2 hours flight from Lusaka to Johannesburg. If I'm driving, it's 24 hours. And the road I go through Kazungula and Botswana, Martins Drift, I'm in Pretoria. I go via Durban, or if I'm going to Cape Town. So really, it's accessible, and the process is not that tedious, I would say. Yeah. So it's a place to go and have fun, especially Durban. It kicks and you enjoy it.
I love that.
I think one of the things as South Africans we take for granted is, when we go to Durban, it's the same food. We don't. If we're going from Gauteng, most of us are driving, so we don't have to worry about our kit unless we forget to pack it. But that's a totally different. It's a totally different problem. But yeah, how do you make sure that being so far away from home, you still get the things that you need before races, the things that you used to? What are some of the little tricks you've learned so that you don't arrive with one running shoe or your racing kit's gone missing or anything like that?
There's a principle we always say, runners, that whenever you're traveling, never forget your running shoes, and never put your running shoes in the luggage checked in, because anything can happen. So basically, when I'm traveling, my running kits, let's say I'm coming for Comrades race, the shoes I'll use, the shorts I'll use, the top, my jersey, whatever, those are my hand luggage. I don't even compromise on that. Of course, there's a limitation on what quantity of liquids you can carry. So if you know what gels you use, I don't really much use of, maybe I'll learn from Coach Perry now that what gels can I get on. But I've been running, believe me, you won't, get this, but I've run Comrades raw. I haven't used much of the gels. So I've trained my body to run based on the natural nutrients like water, bananas, and on the way potatoes, and Coca-Cola. Yes, it works on the way if you need sugar. Of course, I'll carry a bit of sweets on the way as I'm running. But when I'm traveling for a race, any race I'm coming for in South Africa, if I'm flying, I have a hand luggage of my running kits. And the shoes I'll use, probably I'll put them on so that I'm getting acclimatized to the shoes as I'm walking. Yeah. So basically, those are the jits I use when I'm traveling with the running kit.
I love it. I love it. Excellent advice. That's I've heard far too many horror stories of people losing their running kits and their check luggage and their luggage doesn't arrive. So I love that. That's excellent advice, Nicholas. Thank you. Nicholas, last question from me. And then Linz, I'm not sure if you have another one, but what's obviously you up for 2026? You tackling this year, and then what's you're halfway, more than halfway really to green. Is that on the cards for you? What's the goals for you?
And 2026 is on the card. I've already secured my entry. Good. And I'm chasing for a qualifier now. And unfortunately, I lost my dad in December towards Christmas, and everything emotionally, I was really put off. And now I'm trying to come back. So God be on our side. Things will be done. We shall come and uprun the poly shots. achieve another maybe personal best coming fourth. I feel I'm stronger going up because I've seen the 4 down runs have really grilled me. So I'm hoping the up run I'm going to run this time will give me the best time coming up. I'm coming for Comrades 2026. And I'm hoping Zambia will bring a good presentation because each year the numbers have been growing. And we announce our presence at Comrades. And I'm looking forward. You know, one thing I love about Comrades is the cultural interaction, yeah? Because we meet with different people. You learn from other colleagues or comrades who would come from wherever, which corner of the world. But basically, South Africa and Zambia, we are like 2 hours away from each other. I've had colleagues who came through to Lusaka for APSA. The Icon guys came through. Sipo has been to Lusaka, and Sabu Walala. What's her name again? The lady who does the last bus at Comrades.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I've forgotten her name. Yeah,
Marky,
she was here for,
Hashida.
yes. We interacted here in Zambia. They had a good time. They had a good stay. So I'm lobbying as Zambia is also growing in this new phenomenon of running. You guys, Coach Perry, one day visit Lusaka, come and explore, bring your vast knowledge. Let's have a workshop one day, you know, come and give us the insights of, you know, we are toddlers now. We want to start walking, running, and give us that information. So let's arrange feedbacks or, workshops. You come, you give us such information, we interact at that level. And some people don't even know they're coaches, you know. They just run, and with your guidance, of course, or other coaches who are listening who are here, it will be better. So it's one thing I love about this race is that the unity, the Ubuntu, it brings us together. So 14th June is not far. We'll still come and see you at your stand there. Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
Awesome.
Please do. Good. Nicholas,
We look forward to meeting you. My father was born in Kitwe. I've been up to Zambia a few times in my short life. So always happy for another invitation. So hopefully that'll happen. But we'll see you in June for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicholas, thank you so much for your time. I just wanted to share this one comment with you because I thought it was awesome. Such an amazing ambassador for this race, spoken from his heart and with such passion. Durban, it kicks. So, yeah, absolutely love that. Nicholas, thank you so much for your time and for your passion.
Thank you,
and yeah, we'll see you in June. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, and see you. I look forward to come and see you guys. May His grace be with you, and God bless you. Thank you.
Brilliant, awesome. Thank you, Nicholas. Brilliant. I'm going to pop you guys off there. Thanks, Linz. I'm going to pop you off as well. All right. So next up we have Nontuthuko Mashimani. Excuse me. Sorry, I got that right and then I messed it up. Okay, so sorry about that, Nontuthuko. Apologies. I brought you on now, guys. This is an avenue that Comrades is really, really passionate about. We are behind Comrades in supporting this drive as well. And so, yeah, Nontu, I'm going to hand over to you to take us through the race for charity. You guys did phenomenal things. You have done phenomenal things for many, many years. And last year was again an excellent proof of that. So thank you very much for your time. Let me hand over to you.
Thank you, Shona. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. Today we're going to be talking about running for charity, and which is something so important at Comrades, because the story of Amabidi Charities, it's something that was established in 1996, a partnership born out of Comrades' deep belief that this race must mean more than just kilometers and medals. It must also mean community, care, and contribution. So through Amabidi, we created a platform where every stride taken by our runners could be translated into rands of hope for those in need. So it is a very important aspect, and I always say that it's our muscle at Comrades of PR, where we showcase not only the race but what the race represents, and it's a spirit of Ubuntu and also spirit of giving, and also showcasing the charities that we work with that do phenomenal work in South Africa. So this year, last year, we raised 8 million rands. And this was, I'll say, a PB, because runners know the whole thing of PBs. We reached our level base and reaching 8 million. The year before, we had hit 6 million, so we jumped by 2 million. And all thanks to everybody who participated when choosing to run for charity, buying merchandise from charities, when you see them all over the place, whether it's your road shows, at any races, they are there and they are fundraising. So everybody who participated in that and helped to raise this money, thank you very much. Hoping that this year also will reach higher heights, better heights, to reach more than 8 million. So fundraising initiatives, there are so many that you can participate in, but let me explain what happens when you decide that you want to run for charity. Most of you would have seen when you were registering to run Comrades 2026, you would have met or seen a link that takes you to where you are able to choose if you want to donate to a specific charity, or you want to donate to Amabidi Bidi, or you want to choose to run for charity. So you would have chosen it like that. But it's not too late for those who want or wish to run for charity. You can still send us an email, and you are able to create a link for you, and you are able to choose which charity you want to run for and support. So it's not too late. So running for charity or racing for charity, it mainly means that you choose a charity that speaks closely to what you believe in and what speaks to your heart. Number one, your job as a race for charity runner is to showcase the charity to your family, your friends, your community. You market that charity, but then also you are able to supply a link to them so that they can click that link and give you a donation, and all goes towards running for charity with that charity that you've chosen. And remember, there's no limitation to how much you can raise, but also there's no I believe that the more all of us take part in this, the more money we will raise for charity. And the most important thing is that every little counts. I mean, if you look at 22,000 runners who are lining up or are going to line up at Comrades, and each and every one of them raised something like 1,000 Rand each, that is a lot of money they would have contributed. So I'm encouraging everybody to participate. Every little counts. Then there's win a car, ticket sales. The charities, again, will be selling tickets for 50 Rand, where you are able to stand a chance to win a car. And we're going to talk about win a car also later on, but that is another way of helping charities to raise funds. And there's donations with entries, like I've spoken earlier on, where when you are registering to run for charity, you are able to donate to any charity that you wish to donate to, or you can donate to the Amabidi Bidi umbrella, and that money gets divided amongst all the charities. And we have merchandise that we sell, which we'll also talk about. So like Shona introduced me, I am Nontutugo Mashimane, and I'm going to be running my 9th Comrades this year. And each and every Comrades that I've always ran for charity. And I also was a novice once, and I said at one of the road shows where Lindsay Perry was attending, and I was moved by something that you can do for while you're running Comrades, and that's running for more than yourself, and running for a bigger cause, and running for more than just the t-shirt, the medal, the vibes, everything that goes on at Comrades, which is fabulous. You're running for more than yourself. You're running for people who will never ever repay you. So ever since I started running in 2015, I've been running for charity, and it's made my Comrades journey one of the best things I've ever experienced in my life. Athletics achievements, I've been involved with Comrades ever since I was in high school. I go to a high school that is in Maritzburg that Comrades used to use or used to involve in the build-up of Comrades or on the Comrades Day. So I was a volunteer since I was in high school, and I've been also a member of the CMA for a long time, since 2015. I've been a CMA volunteer, and also I've ran a couple of marathons nationally and internationally. I've swam, made my miles, and I ran a Karkloof 100-miler. And I'm a sports fanatic. I believe in sport. I love sport, and I love Comrades. And being part of the Comrades team and being of the family, Comrades family, has changed my life. So, and being part of Comrades Marathon, CSI and charities, I'm a chairperson for that committee, and really always trying to thrive to have more and more runners running for charity, raising more funds that do absolutely wonderful work has been, an achievement for me. Then let's go to the next slide. Oh gosh, what is happening?
Sorry, is that the right one there? Not too sorry. There to there. Is that okay?
Yeah,
I don't know why
thank you.
I'll jump off there.
No, that's perfect. So last year, the committee and we came up with an initiative that will be able and has been able to help the charities raise more funds, but more importantly, the clubs. They've been able to work together to actually fundraise for Amabidi charities. And the club that raised the most for charity with all their runners put together won Spirit of Comrades Award. And Run Zone Athletics Club was a club that won that award last year. And I'm encouraging clubs around the country, around nationally, internationally, all clubs to come together and use this as a team building to actually fundraise and encourage more and more runners to be Comrades runners running for charity. The more you have from your club, the better. And the more you have runners running for your club and this initiative, you can use it when you are doing your fun runs or your training runs where you be fundraising. And with all that, it grows to a big number. So we are very proud of Run Zone to actually have come at the Spirit of Comrades and collect the award. So that was a very exciting initiative that we, as the CSI and Charities Committee, put together. I spoke about the merchandise and memorabilia. The charities have on hand things that they sell that are part of fundraising. There's the famous Amabidi beads that I feel each and every runner should have around their neck on Comrades Day. They mean so much. They symbolize a lot, and they show that we are contributing towards the Amabidi initiative that was started in 1996. And we have socks, a range of socks. We have arm sleeves. We have caps. We have so much. And obviously, we're going to have a new set for 2026 that we'll be selling. And this merchandise is sold at where you find any charity, whether it's a roadshow, where it's at some races, where you find one of our official charities. They'll be selling this memorabilia and merchandise, but also at the expo. We have stands or a stand for charities where we encourage everybody to visit and support the new merchandise of 2026 that they would have this year. So I'm really encouraging everybody to have Amabidi Comrades Marathon merch and merchandise and memorabilia, all in the name of fundraising. I spoke about Win a Car competition. One of our sponsors, which is Toyota, have been so kind to be sponsoring a vehicle each and every year for us to fundraise by selling tickets. And this car the car that they give us is worth over $500,000. And we were so happy and proud that last year we sold tickets for win a car for close to R1 million. So we doubled what the car is worth. So I'm sure that Toyota, wherever they are, they're very proud that we used the car to the maximum to actually fundraise. So I also encourage everybody, whether it's a Comrades runner, family, friends, colleagues, anybody who meets any charity that's selling a winner car tickets to please buy. We have Patricia Savage, who's from Joburg. She won this car and she only bought 2 tickets, and you can buy these tickets also online if you go to the Comrades website. And she only bought 2 tickets, which is R100, so she actually got a car for R100. That is her luck last year. So I'm encouraging you, you never know, this year could be you who's driving away with this Toyota vehicle. The most important thing that I actually want to emphasize before I log out is that when I'm speaking to runners all over, I always say to them, the message I give them is that, the most important thing that you need to understand, that whether you're a novice or you're chasing your back-to-back, or you are probably wearing your green number, remember that your Comrades journey is not complete until you run for charity. Because, Comrades is not just a race from Pietermaritzburg and Durban, or Durban to Maritzburg. It is a race from the heart to humanity. So when your legs grow weary and your spirit, is wanes, remember that there's a child out there, there's a mother, there's a community somewhere whose hope runs along you as you run your Comrades Marathon on the 14th of June this year. And that is what makes you not just a runner per se, but you're a hero in motion. So as you register for Race for Charity, which I know most of you will, and you prepare for the 2026 run, which is an up run, I'm asking you guys to make a commitment to run for charity, run for a cause, run for Amabidi Bidi, run for a change. And the change that we want to see in this country starts with us. So the little that we're able to do, and especially we are so blessed that we all love running, we all love Comrades, and we use that vehicle, Comrades Marathon, to make an impact in our country. It's such a blessing. So I'm encouraging all of you that, let's carry this legacy forward with pride. Let's continue to prove that the ultimate human race is not only about endurance, but it's about humanity, and one of our great leaders in this country, the late Nelson Mandela, once said, sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. So let's run, not just to cross the finish line, not just to cross barriers of inequality, poverty, and despair. Let's run for hope. Let's run for healing. And, let's run for humanity. That's what it has done for me. And my life, when it comes to running the Comrades Marathon, has never been the same since the day I decided to run for charity. And I'm encouraging all of you to actually do the same thing. So thank you for listening and being part of this webinar, and hoping to see you on the next ones.
Yeah, Nonsku, thank you so much. I think there's a couple of gems that you said in there, and one of the things that I'm going to hold that is, which I love, is you said, you're heroes in motion, which I absolutely love. I mean, as it is, Comrades, like you say, is such an amazing, vibe, the culture around it, everything around it, as we know. This is just something, and there's a couple of comments that have come through around people saying, it's so powerful to also have something when you're really in the deep dark place of Comrades, to have something, you're running for something bigger than yourself. So thank you for that.
Shona, just to add to that, I mean, Comrades is one of the most gruesome, hard things that anyone will ever do or have done, but the most beautiful. And when it gets hard, because everybody knows, well, I think the coach will tell you, Comrades starts at 60 Ks. So your legs, everything is familiar up until 60 Ks, where at 60 Ks you need to dig deep, and that's when your why comes up. And one of your whys, if you're a charity runner, you think about the reason why you're here, and it's one of them is there's a charity out there counting on you, rooting for you, where there's a charity for children and in need, and it's for cancer cause, and for nature, which is one of our charities, Sandparks. And there's people suffering, affected and infected by HIV and AIDS. You are there and you are doing it for them, and they can never repay you. They can never say thank you to you because they don't know you, you don't know them, but they are appreciating the fact that you put up your hand and you said, I'm going to be one of those people that are going to be using the vehicle, Comrades Marathon, doing the most hardest thing that they'll ever do in their life, but I'm going to add a notch to it and run for charity. And also one thing that also Comrades Marathon has done or does for anybody who chooses to run for charity is that if you raise 6,000 Rand or more, you are given a thank you. It's literally a thank you from Comrades Marathon, where they give you a special seating that you choose if you want to be in that seating, which is C seating. And that helps because of, the Comrades is gun to mat. Everybody knows that. And some people at the back, maybe at F or H, you lose time before you reach your first mat. So being in the front, it helps. And with the 2 starts that happened last year, the charity runners were right in the front with the green number. So literally you were like an elite runner on second batch.
Yeah.
Yes. So also it's literally, and I want to say it's a thank you from Comrades. I don't want people to take it as, you buying a seeding or anything like that, because all charity runners, they are not running for that seeding. It's more than that. I don't think anybody is as shallow as that. You're running for a cause. You're running for something that is amazing and something that's going to live inside you, that you were a runner in motion, a hero in motion. And and you decided to dedicate your Comrades not only to your family, your friends, but to people who don't know you, but they appreciate every stride that you took.
Amazing. Nonto, just before you go, there's a question that came up, and I know the answer to it, but I want to please ask you the question about the win a car. Can you enter to win a car even if you're not running? Is it open to everyone or only to Comrades runners?
It is open to every single person. So even people we encourage people to go to the expo, even if you don't run Comrades and you not and you don't have anyone who's running Comrades, but the expo, when you walk in there, is for you to experience the vibe that is happening in Durban. We have people who are selling different things at the expo, and obviously when you get there, you'll see the car and you are able to buy the winner car tickets. So even online, anybody, you can log on and buy those tickets. Anybody, you just have to be a person who's not Comrades a person who's working for Comrades, unfortunately, or Toyota, but anybody else can. And it helps us because we want everybody in South Africa to take part in this Comrades Marathon experience.
Brilliant. Okay. Nontutuko, thank you so much for your time. There's some amazing comments coming through saying how much you've inspired people. I agree. But thank you so much for your time. It's always very special to have you on. And we will definitely see you again soon. Thank you.
On the next one. Thanks, Shona.
Yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Thank you. All right. Okay. So let's get carrying on with what's we're here for as well. We also hear the head coach. Coach, so let me just make sure that everyone is silence. I'm getting a lot of background noise there.
No, right. So then that must, let me change my ears around. Maybe when I put that.
No. It seems to be fine, Linz. Don't change your ears around. I think you're right now. Just speak. Let's make sure that everyone can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. All right. So, guys, before Lindsay gets started and I hand over to him, he's going to take you through. There's been a few questions that have come through, like Natasha is here asking, what is the most difficult part of the course of the up run? There's a few questions that have come through, and Lindsay's going to answer those in the presentation. I'm going to talk about strength training after this, and then we are going to stick around for a little bit of a Q&A afterwards as well. So post some questions down in the comments. I will flag them. But yeah, we want to get through the presentations as well. We do know that everyone obviously has an evening and perhaps the Sona speech to catch up on. So yeah, but right now we're listening to the head coach. So Linz, I'm going to hand over to you. Take us through what is what we are all attempting to tackle this year, please.
Certainly not as important as Cyril, but I hope I'm more entertaining. Anyway, or President Ramaphosa, let me show some respect. Right. So this is what you're running. So the question is, what's the most difficult part? Well, to be honest, the most difficult part of the up run is going easy enough in the first 36 Ks that the second half is runnable. So obviously the scale on this is a little bit exaggerated, but to be honest, it kind of highlights the point. For the up run, you're going to be running 1,700 vertical ascent meters, and you're going to be doing 1,000 descent meters. So that's a net 700 up. So 700 on its own across 89 Ks would actually be a lot of climbing. 1,700 meters is extreme. So if you haven't run Comrades before, really, you probably read or heard of the Big Five. And so I'll go through those first. And the first of the Big Five arrives at Cowie's Hill, which is about 16, 17 kilometers into the up run. Yeah, it's not a massive climb, but you've already been climbing for most of the past 14 kilometers before you get to the foot of it. Very gradual hills that I'm going to go over shortly, but they don't even feature with the name. The second of the Big Five is Fields Hill, and on this profile, obviously, that looks like a wall. In reality, Fields Hill isn't that steep. The very beginning of it is quite steep, and it comes just after the half marathon mark, but it is really, really long. And the most interesting thing about Fields Hill is that because it's not super steep, is that often this is a part of the race where you actually realize just how fit and strong you've become over the last 6 months. And the good news is that if you do feel like that at Fields Hill, you know that you're going to have a good day at Comrades. The trick is not to take advantage of how good you feel and to power up Fields Hill. You've got to be super disciplined and hold back and really just make sure that you're saving yourself for later in the day when you get to Fields Hill. Then you get at around about 36 kilometers, Bothers Hill. Now, Bothers Hill is quite significant. Firstly, because now you've done 3 of the Big Five. Secondly, because you've hit the second highest point on the Comrades route, and you're 36 Ks in. And thirdly, because you finally get a reasonable respite from the continuous climbing you've been doing the first 36 Ks. And this is honestly what makes the up run such an enormous challenge, is that the first 36 Ks genuinely are just so tough. And now you've got to still run more than a marathon. Okay. There is a lot of downhill after this, and you are going to take advantage of it by using gravity and running most of the next 10-ish kilometers, about 8 actually. But what you're not going to do is push yourself to catch up time, because then your legs are going to be completely shot, and you do have the fourth of the Big Five coming out of halfway, and that is Nchanga. Okay. From Nchanga, okay, again, the profile, because it's so squashed up here, it's a lot flatter and easier from the top of Nchanga, and you do have long sections of nice gradual downhill. There will be a lot of people at this point telling you that it's downhill from here, and don't make that mistake. Okay. From Nach, you'll see there's a turn off to Nachel Dam. It turns off to the right. You're running, you can see the highway, the N3 to your left. Once you get to Nachel Dam, that is the point when you have lots and lots and lots of downhill, but it's not all downhill. There are enough pools, because when you get to a just shy of the 65 kilometer mark, you're going to get to Umlaas Road, and that is in fact the highest point on the course. So from there, it's almost all downhill, but you are going to get to Polly Shorts. And Polly Shorts, again, very much like Cowie's Hill, on a normal day of the week or normal day of the year, you probably don't struggle too much on Polly Shorts. But when you have run the best part of 80 kilometers, Polly Shorts really, really is tough. The good news is that you will then have 6Ks to roll down the hill. Now, what makes, and that's the answer to the question, is what makes the uphill or the up Comrades, what makes it so hard? And it's the fact that the big five, while difficult, are not even remotely near all of the climbing. That's the problem. So when you start the race, immediately as you leave Durban, you're going to go up quite a short, steep hill to get onto the highway. Then about 3.5 to 4Ks later, you're going to hit Tollgate Bridge. So you're doing another climb within the first 5Ks that nobody even talks about. And then you get to 45th Cutting at about 8 kilometers. And 45th Cutting is not an insignificant climb. But what's most significant for me about 45th Cutting is that once you go down the other side of 45th Cutting, you pretty much don't stop climbing until you get over Cowie's Hill. So there's some very small depressions as you go through Westville. And only when you get to Cowie's Hill and run through Pinetown do you get some respite from the climbing. Then you get onto Fields Hill. You do Bertha's Hill, you go through Drummond, and you go over in Chunga. And then we get to what's known as the Harrison Flats. But in reality, are the Harrison not so flats, because you're constantly doing gentle pulls up and long gentle pulls down. I mentioned Umlaas Road in there, and I've got an extra hill in there that doesn't exist for the up run. And then you get to Little Impanchini or Little Polly's, and I promise you that is something you need to watch out for. So if I go back one slide, you'll see that little hill before Polly Shorts. Now, even seasoned runners make the mistake of getting to Polly Shorts, and because it's been a long day, because you're so tired, because you're desperate to get to the end, you think to yourself, Polly Shorts, finally. The difference is that seasoned runners realize straight away, because while it's hard going uphill, they realize this is too easy. And then they know, damn, I'm not on Polly Shorts. I'm on Little Polly's, Little Impanchini. So when you get to roughly 76, 77 kilometers, and you think to yourself, Polly Shorts isn't so bad, then you know that you are not actually yet on Polly Shorts. Okay, so now that you know what we are training for, let's jump into how do you train for it. And the nice thing about the webinars is that we will try to focus very specifically on where we are now and the next couple of steps that we need to follow. This one being the first one will still be a little bit more general, but certainly from the next ones, we'll really just dive into where we should be now, what we should be focusing on next as we go through the Comrades journey. Okay, so Comrades essentially is after 4 things for you as the Comrades runner. The first is that we want you to start the race. So we want you to have a successful journey, to train well, to qualify, and to not get injured, so that you can line up in Durban and start with everyone making their journey to Pietermaritzburg. It's also really important to us that you enjoy the journey. Okay. I always ask people about their first one. And I can tell you now that my first Comrades was just about my worst Comrades in terms of how I felt. I've had one Comrades where I dislocated a bone in my foot coming down both this hill, and I still enjoyed that Comrades more than I enjoyed my first Comrades. And that's simply because I'd run my entire life and I was just a little bit too casual about what I was going to be experiencing at Comrades. So that was in 2006. And I've made all the mistakes so that you don't have to make them. So the second thing that we want for you is to make sure that you actually enjoy your day and you have a great day out there at Comrades. And then third, and equally as important as starting the race, we want you to go home with a medal. So with the way the cutoffs have changed, and we'll go into that sort of thing in a lot more detail, most people who start Comrades will finish Comrades, but not everyone's going to go home with a medal. So in the past, you couldn't cross that finish line if you didn't make it under 12 hours. Now you still get to cross the finish line, just that you have to get under 12 hours to get a medal. And that's what we want for you. We want you to get a medal. And as you heard from Nantu earlier, is that we want you to do a meaningful race. So that's the fourth aspect of these road shows that Comrades really wants to get across, is that the vice chair said we want it to be a meaningful race. We want you to have a meaningful impact on your environment, on your community. And so we're also strongly encouraging people to do Comrades for a charity. Okay. So where are we now? We are 123 days away from the Comrades Marathon. We are still laying the foundation, and this is so important. You know, we're sitting here on the 12th of February, just about the middle of the month, and we don't want to be training too hard for Comrades specifically. We'll be talking about marathons and that sort of thing shortly. If you haven't started doing strength training yet, I can't emphasize enough how important strength training is for you to do. So if anybody wants to follow my training and see I literally practice what I preach, feel free to jump on Strava, look for me. You will see that literally since the beginning of November, when I kind of decided I was going to do Comrades, I've been pretty religious. I even did strength training all the way through December, and pushing myself very hard at strength. And that is why Shona is going to talk about strength training tonight, because we really, if you haven't started strength, want you to start doing strength training and doing it in the right way and getting the maximum benefits out of it. Okay. We should be thinking about qualifying now. So we are going to talk about that in the presentation. And a lot of people have been qualifying over the last couple of weeks. There's some big qualifying races coming up. Bulwen Peninsula, Bulwen Pretoria Marathon. There's Elands coming up on the 28th of February. There's Knysna happening this weekend, the Knysna Heads Marathon. In a couple of weeks' time, there's Kango. Sorry if I've forgotten to mention your race, but just there's really heaps of qualifying races that are happening all around us at the moment. And really, 123 days to go to Comrades. But Comrades preparation and having a great Comrades is all about utilizing the last 90 days properly. And if we're training too hard already, you are going to struggle to use those 90 days, either through being very mentally tired, being very physically tired, or being sick and injured. Okay. So the first and most important question you need to be asking yourself, are you on the right plan? Make sure that you are following the right training plan for you. Okay, what is super important is that as I go through these medals now, is that as runners, we were not all created equal. Some of us have got better running ability. And what often accompanies better running ability is an ability to handle training better. But that is also linked to the fact that faster runners tend to be smaller runners. Now, that isn't a universal rule, but it is a pretty good generalization, and it's part of the reason why faster runners can handle more training. Okay. And so make sure that you follow the plan for you. If you're chasing a finishes, don't think that by following the bronze or following the Bill Rowan that you're going to do enough kilometers and finish. And the last thing I really want to say on that before I jump into actually who should be following what plan is that I've had 3 or 4 comrades calls this week, and that's been one of the questions, is that there is someone in the club who has run 30 comrades. There's someone in the club who's run 45 kilometers. And when they look at the training plans that have been put up, they are physically scared of the training that is required for doing the race. And it's making them think that they won't be able to do comrades because they instinctively can see that that's a crazy amount of training for a person to do. Now, the problem is that a lot of the training methodologies that exist in clubs come from the 80s when the race exploded in popularity. But previous to the 80s, there were only a handful of people who, well, I mean, I say a handful, but let's say in the late 1970s, there were about 1,900 people who finished comrades, and almost half of them ran silver. So think about that. There were more silvers when there were less than 2,000 people running. I think it was 1979 that I looked at the stats. Someone can go and check me. 1,900 finishes, 900 silvers. Now, then the race exploded in popularity in the 80s, and people who were running 11 hours, 10 and a half, or 10:59, you had to run under 11 hours, 10 and a half hours, 10 hours. Who were they looking to see how you should train? They were looking at people that were running comrades 3 hours faster than them. Okay. And so that's where this crazy amount of training has come from. But what it does is it sets you up for injury. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in. So just hold that thought. Right. So who should be following what? So if you want to run a silver or an Isabel Roche Kelly as a female, you're looking at, you've got to be under 3 hours for the marathon, 18 minutes for a 5K, 38 minutes for a 10K, and a 125 half. If you've got aspirations of a Bill Rowan, you're looking at a 3:35 marathon, a 22-minute 5K, 45-minute 10K, and a 142 half. For Robert Machali or a sub 10, sorry, so Silver and Isabel Roche Kelly are sub 7.5. Bill Rowan is under 9 hours. Sorry for our international audience who don't know what all these medals mean. A Robert Machali is a sub 10. And to get a sub 10, you're looking at a 4-hour marathon, a 24-minute 5K, a 51-minute 10K, and a 154 half. Then a bronze medal, which is a sub 11 comrades, is a 4:24 marathon, a 27-minute 5K, a 56-minute 10, and a 2:05 half. And then the finishes. Okay, don't panic when you see that number. 4:48 is really the statistical number that means that finishing comrades is safe. 30-minute 5K, 61:10, and a 2:16. I don't want you to panic because so many people who run 4 hours 59 still come and finish comrades. It does, however, mean that on race day, you have got a very small margin for error. So you definitely want to jump in and come and listen to every webinar. Make sure that you don't make any mistakes. Make sure that you don't start comrades injured. Okay, we want to be as consistent as we can. Guys, that is the most important thing. The number one important thing for comrades is consistency. You will have a better comrades if you ran 40Ks, and I don't mean a long run, I mean 40Ks in total, 4 times 10Ks. You'll have a better comrades if you run 4 times 10Ks every single week from here to comrades than you will if you do huge weeks that lead to you getting sick and injured and you miss 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks of training. Okay, we want to be consistent. We want to do the optimal amount of training so that you can remain consistent and train day after day, week after week, month after month. Okay, it is ideal if you have just qualified or you're literally about to qualify. And that is so that you can take a break from this hard training you've been doing since December and January. Lots of people train hard in December because they've got time. And then the rest of us start training very hard in January because we panic. Comrades is around the corner. And so once you've qualified, it is a very good idea to take a 10 to 14 day break from running to really mentally freshen up and just let all those niggles that have built up get out of your system and make sure that you don't injure yourself after your comrades. But the most important thing about qualifying, and I might be stealing from a future slide, is that although it's ideal to qualify now, the most important thing is that you qualify when you're ready, because we don't want to have to keep repeating that effort, because every time we run a hard marathon, it steals from us our ability to train properly for comrades. What's super important, guys, is we are not in peak training yet. That is coming in March. Okay, so I'm going to flick through these medals because they are all quite, the slides are fairly similar, but where the big difference comes is where we are in terms of our mileage. Okay, so January and February, it's all about building consistency, laying down the foundation, laying the habits, but we really just want to be building up nice and slowly through January, February, and March, and we're only looking at getting into peak training in April. Okay, we want to be looking at between 35 and 45 kilometers a week. And I know you're all thinking that's nothing. I promise you, you do not want to be getting too much further than this if you want to stay fresh, mentally fresh, and be able to train properly in April and May. Okay. For most of the bronze medals, we hopefully are in very focused training for a marathon. If you have developed any niggles, then please, guys, treat them now. So for some of these slides, when I talk about these general principles, that's a little bit because I'm trying to spread that out, and that kind of does apply to everybody. If you have a niggle now, if you have an injury now, get to the physio, get it treated. Rather rest a few days now than sit with something that becomes chronic and really impacts your training down the line. And we're looking at about 50 to 60 kilometers a week in training for the bronze medal guys. Okay. Robert Machali, your aim is to be around 55 to 65 kilometers a week. The Bill Roans, 7.5 to 9 hours. You are doing a lot more training. And so you do need to already be taking care of your fatigue, making sure that you're not too tired, making sure that you're not pushing through mega fatigue already so early in the year. You are probably doing quite a lot of high intensity training now because you're trying to get a fast marathon under 3.5 hours, and you're already sitting at 70 to 90 kilometers per week. And then finally, the silver medal runners. Okay. Recovery is absolutely key for you guys. I'm going to touch on recovery later on. Honestly, it's important for everyone. For you guys, it's critical. I know everyone who's been in the ecosystem is probably getting tired of this joke, but the silver medal and Isabel Roche Kelly runners, they are people who don't like their family. They need to get away from them, and they certainly don't have friends. So they've got a lot of extra time for training. And in this group, when I get to the amount of kilometers now, you'll see it's quite a lot. It does sometimes get a bit tricky to figure out, am I sore, a little bit stiff because I've overdone it, or am I injured? Okay, so I'm going to give you a little checklist that I use when I'm in mega hard training for a marathon to try and decide what an injury is. So there are 3 things I'm looking for. If I feel something is uncomfortable when I'm running, does the discomfort progress while I'm running? If the answer to that is yes, I stop running and I seek treatment. Okay. If there's no progression during the run, and actually it feels like it gets a bit better when I run, that's typically what I would then consider some training soreness, and I'd continue. The second thing that I look at then is, okay, from run to run, how does that feel? So I can feel it, it's there, but when I train, it really doesn't get any worse. And when I come back to train tomorrow and the next day and the next day, there is no progression. If there is progression run on run, Even if the progression is very, very slight, I will stop. That's an injury. It needs to get treated. And then the third thing that I'm looking at when I'm trying to decide should I carry on running or not is that after each run, I'm looking at around about 2 hours after the run, is there an increase in the pain? Does it come back? And then I also look in the morning. So if the answer to that is yes, I'm off to the physio and I get treatment. If the answer to that is no, then I kick it on to the next morning. And then if I'm still fine the next morning, then I'm like, great, this is okay. I can continue to train with this particular injury. So that's how we make decisions in the silver. You are doing loads of speed training now because you're trying to get under 3 hours, which is 4:15 a K, and you'll be running anywhere between 90 and 140 Ks a week while you are training for the marathon. Okay. Then importantly, over the next 4 weeks, particularly once you've qualified, you've had a short little rest, and we're building back up to get into that training, that proper training that we're looking for before we go into our peak training in April, is what are we looking to do into March and as we get towards the end of March. Okay, so the finishes, we're upping that a little bit, getting to about 55 Ks per week now. For the bronze medal, we're at about 60 kilometers a week. Robert Machali, we're getting to about 70 Ks a week. For the Bull Roan, you're hitting 90 Ks consistently. We don't want to be much above 100 kilometers a week for the Bull Roan. You'll probably get quite close to 100 Ks a week in April. So 100 Ks now is the absolute max for those Bull Roan. And the silver and the Isabel Roche Kelly, we're looking at a minimum of 100 Ks a week when you get to the end of March. Okay. And strength, guys. So you must be doing strength training, and without being too repetitive, that's why we're going to talk about it later in this webinar. Okay, so we want to qualify, we want to recover from that qualifying effort, and we are going to build into March. Okay, now just to reiterate around qualifying, okay, is that when is it best to qualify? It's best to qualify when you're ready. So what do I mean by that? I mean that we would like you to qualify now. However, if you're not ready to qualify now and you try and qualify and you fail, you need to recover from that effort. And then you need to give a minimum of 3 weeks before you can try and qualify again, which means now you're going into your proper Comrades preparation time. And because you've got that hard training, hard race effort from 3 weeks ago, you haven't been able to train properly because you've been really sore from that qualifying effort. And now you try to qualify again, and again, you are not ready. And so make sure that you're ready, you're in a good space, you're reasonably confident you can get your qualifier in. And if you don't feel like that, then rather train for another 3-4 weeks and get yourself to that position and make sure that your qualifying effort counts when it counts. Okay. So seeding and chasing a better pen or a better seeding batch. Really, with the way the start of the Comrades is now structured with the 2-wave start, it is crazy to be chasing seeding. So even in the past, the best that a seeding can do is score you 2 minutes on race day. Now, again, when we all started at the same time and it took some people 12 minutes to get across the start line, I understand how 10 minutes can make a big psychological difference versus 12, or 8 can make a big psychological difference versus 10. But the reality is that the cost of those 2 minutes is enormous. So once you've qualified, just take your seeding. Because if you then qualify or try to improve your seeding and save yourself 2 minutes on rest day, what you do is you compromise your ability to train properly. And if you train properly for Comrades, you can improve yourself so that your Comrades can be 15, 20, 30 minutes faster. But if you work hard to chase a seeding, then you get 2 minutes, but you lose the ability to improve those 10, 15, 20 minutes in your training. Okay. So once we are qualified, we do not try and improve our seeding. And with the new system, the last runner to cross the line takes 6 minutes. So really that fear of that 8, 10, 12 minutes that used to happen it's no longer relevant. And as you heard, you can now raise 6,000 Rand, you can get a charity seating, and then you start in front of wave 2. So you basically get treated like the elites get treated at the start of wave 1. And so you will lose no time crossing the line. So if you really are worried about the time that you're leaving, rather run for a cause, raise money for a very good cause, and then you get your thank you is to go and stand in front. Okay. So the most important stats of all, 68% of runners who do not finish Comrades start with an injury. Okay, that's why I really spent so much time on that first slide to say, are you on the right plan? Because if you get injured, that is your single biggest threat to not finishing Comrades. So how can we help you not be a statistic and make sure that you don't start Comrades with an injury? Well, we want you to recover properly. So I'm not going to spend lots of time on this graph, but it's just a really great visual representation of what we're looking for. The green line or the top graph is what we are looking for when we are training. We put a load on the body, and that load causes damage physically and physiologically. Tendons, muscles, ligaments, bones. The actual ability of the body to deliver oxygen, carbohydrates, fats, and to remove waste products out of the body. Those things are compromised when we add a load. And when we finish the training, we're actually in a weakened position compared to where we started. And then the body starts the repair process. But the body never stops when it gets us back to where we were. It improves things so that next time we can handle the load better. And if we allow enough recovery, that's when we start to see the improvements. If we don't allow the recovery, if we do training, if the training's too close together, if we train too hard every time we train, if we don't eat properly, we don't sleep properly, which we're about to talk about now, then that is when our body doesn't recover fully. And then we do the next training session before we've recovered, and we start doing damage instead of improving. And that's when you go into overtraining, injury, and illness. Because the truth is, you can only benefit from the sessions that you recover from, or put a different way, in the absence of recovery, you will get injured. Okay, so how do we look after that recovery? How do we make sure that we're recovering properly? I love to think about this as a triangle for two reasons. Number one, the triangle has a base. And if we look after that base, then that peak can go so much higher. So the bigger and the better our base is, the higher we can push our performance peak. And secondly, what the triangle does is it shows it's got a nice big bottom where the important things go. And when we get those important things right, then we can add on other types of recovery to really make sure that we get those extra 2, 3, 4, 5% in recovery. So the most important things: sleep or rest and nutrition. Okay, so we will be doing a webinar that'll focus on nutrition soon, because strength training is mega important, nutrition mega important. So we'll bring those two together quite early in this training process so that you can put the stuff into action. So for the nutrition, I'm going to keep it quite simple tonight and just say that I want you to think of your day as in training and between training. And your in-training part of your day is obviously while you are training, plus the first 45 minutes after exercise. And then between training is the rest of the day. Now, in training, the most important thing that we're looking for is to provide the energy. Okay. So you can either fuel for training, in other words, in between, you really make sure that your nutrition is amazing. And you are eating the right things all the time so that when you start exercise, you are fully loaded, you are ready to go. Okay. For most of us, and in particular in the morning, we don't eat before we train. So that means that we must fuel in training. So we must have some sort of fuel that we are taking in while we are training. And then in that 45 minutes after training is critical for reloading our muscle glycogen. So we want to take in 500 to 750 mils of a high carb drink, fruit juice, or something similar, sweet tea, a breakfast cereal, something that's quite high in carbohydrates that can get absorbed quickly and go straight into the muscles. And we want a small amount of protein so that we prime the body to start the repair process. And then what's important is that for the rest of the day that you eat well, that you eat enough protein, that you get in your good fats, you get in your micronutrients, and you generally aim to eat well. And we will have a webinar to really unpack what does eating well look like and feel like. And that'll be coming up early in March. Okay. Next is sleep. Right. So I hate preaching a specific amount of sleep because we all live such different lives that it's quite hard for you to get a magic number. And I always feel like if I give a magic number, people switch off because like, well, I'll never get there. So what I like to focus in on is the quality of the sleep. How do you improve? If you can only get 4 hours or 6 hours, whatever it is, how do you make sure that those 4 hours are the best they can possibly be? Okay. So again, I like to work in threes. So 3 steps. Number 1, half an hour before bed, we get off screens. You get off laptop, off television, off tablets, off cell phones. For half an hour, talk to your partner, read a book, but get off of devices so that you can really start to slow down your brain waves and decompress and get ready for sleep. Coupled with that, create a routine that starts at a similar time and gets you into bed at a similar time. So off screens is part of that routine. And if we create a habit, your sleep will improve and your ability to fall asleep will improve. Okay. The second thing is that we don't want sleep disturbance. So we don't want a red light on a TV or the new aircons. I mean, they basically shine the brightest blue light. Turn your aircon on at night now, it's like your bedroom is bathed in sunshine. So stick black masking tape or something similar over those blue flashing lights, red lights on a TV. Keep your cell phone out of your bedroom. Okay, that flashing lights that alerts you that there's a message on your phone, that disturbs your sleep. So we want to get rid of sleep disturbances and have a really dark bedroom. And then the third thing is that if you can, you really want to control temperature in your bedroom. If you can have a cool, dark environment with a good sleep routine, it's going to do wonders for how well you sleep. The next important thing in the recovery is making sure that you have a well-structured plan that takes into account that you do long runs and hard runs in relatively well spaced out, that you do your easy runs and recovery runs in the right place, and that you have some strength training to take that takes into account your rest of your week's training, and that your plan has recovery weeks built in after qualifying efforts, after your very long, hard training sessions. So the structure of your training will also help you to recover on a weekly and on a monthly basis. So that is really key. And once you have got those things right, nutrition, sleep, structure, then things like foam rolling, percussion guns, massage, compression boots, then those things start making a difference for you. Okay. So your milestones for success for the rest of the year. And remember, from here on in, all the other webinars are going to be very specific to where we are now. But this being the first one, I just really wanted to let you see into the future and where we go. So we're looking to qualify now, but the most important thing is that you qualify when you're ready. In March, when we start training for Comrades, we really want to have a good idea of what shoes we are planning on racing Comrades in. If I find a pair of shoes that feel absolutely blissful when I put them on, and they've got between 200 and 400 Ks on them, I normally keep those for Comrades and maybe just do another 3 to 5 runs in them just so that I keep remembering what they feel like. But I really nurse those along until I get to Comrades. Peak training is going to start somewhere between the 1st and the 10th of March. Well, the build up to peak training is going to start between the 1st and 10th of March, depending on exactly when you qualify. Okay. You're going to be looking to do your A long run in April. So that'll be preferably a marathon, maximum 45 Ks. If you are doing oceans, that will then have an impact on May, but I'll talk about that shortly. And then in April, you also want to have sussed out your kit, your nutrition, so that you can really practice these things on your long training runs. Okay. And then in May, we've got the Comrades long run. So there's 2 things I want to address here. The first is, are you doing 2 oceans? So if you're doing 2 oceans, that's 56 Ks. That is going to be your Comrades long run. And it means that in May, you are going to run a maximum of 40 to 45 Ks. So effectively, you're going to swap your April and your May. So if you're not doing oceans, you're going to run 40 to 45 Ks. And then in May, you're going to do 45 to 50 Ks. If you're running oceans, then in May, you're going to do 40 to 45 Ks. And the other elephant in the room that I'm going to address is, should you be running, or not should you? I mean, you shouldn't. So it's easy to answer the question when it's asked to me, should I be running the Cape Town Marathon? No, you shouldn't. Can I run the Cape Town Marathon? Slightly different question. And if you are entered and you have a bib, then this is really the only year that it should even be considered. Because this year we have 3 weeks between Cape Town and Comrades. So you can use Cape Town as your long run for Comrades, but you have to be so disciplined. It is so important that you do not run that race too hard. I think you've got like 6.5 or 7 hours to finish Cape Town. Just double check that. Don't quote me on that. I will have a look and maybe feedback on that on the next webinar. But you can run that race very slow, do lots of walking, practice your nutrition, practice your race kit. But if you go there and run anywhere near your ability, it's going to mess up your Comrade. So yes, you can do Cape Town this year. Should you? No. In 2027, 2028, it's likely to be a 2-week gap, and then you'd be crazy to do both in the same year. Right. In May, you really want to sit down and figure out, what am I capable of doing on Comrades race day? You don't want to leave that to June, because in June, when you're starting to taper, you're feeling fresher, peer pressure kicks in. Other people will start telling you what you are capable of. But you must know what you've trained for, what you're capable of doing, and you need to plan that out and get ready to execute that plan and your nutrition strategy on race day. And you should be mapping all of that out in May. We'll then taper in June, and you will hopefully be lining up injury-free, ready to enjoy the race, ready to finish the race, and hopefully you'll be doing it for a charity.
There we go. Sorry, Mark is muted. Linz, thank you. There are some really, really excellent questions. I'm cognizant of time. Should we crack on with the presentation and then take those all in the Q&A? You happy with that, or do you want one of those now? Yeah. Okay. Good. Because I'm also just cognizant that I've got the graveyard shift here of strength training, which runners hate as it is. So let's rather just crack on with the presentation, guys. Keep the questions coming. There are some amazing questions coming through. So keep those coming. Linz is obviously here. I'll hang around. Well, we're going to talk to you a little bit around strength training as well. So all right. So Linz, let me take you off stage. Let's dive into this. Lindsay spoke about strength training and it's so important, right? And I mean, I know this. I know you guys all rolling your eyes. I know you're going to drop off, but don't. Please just hang around because it is just absolutely vital, for the up and the down. But particularly for the up as well. And so why do we talk about strength training? And whenever I do this, I like putting this picture up because as a runner, I do this often, and I've been running, for ages, and then I go back to a yoga class, and I just feel like the Tin Man coming back into that class. But yeah, just a little bit of humor coming into this presentation. But why is strength training so important? The other thing I want to focus on is what do we need to be doing that's really going to help us, and how how are we going to get through this, with everything that Lindsay has just spoken about as well. So let's go into the why, right? So I'm female, stereotypically should love shopping, and so love a sale, right? So when you buy something and you get something for free, strength training is like that for me. It's like buying one thing and getting two things for free. You do strength training. Don't get me wrong. You pay for it. You pay money, but you're getting two other aspects for free. So you have to sacrifice something, but you're getting two other aspects for free. And the first thing of that is that you reduce your risk of injury. The second thing is that we reduce fatigue during a race, and you're going to eat those hills for breakfast. And the third thing is that we get faster. I'm going to break these down into a little bit as we go through. So the first thing is that we're reducing the risk of injury, right? Lindsay has spoken about the amounts of mileage that we're going to be doing. It is a lot. And the nature of running is that it's a cyclic sport. It's right foot, left foot, right foot, repeats over and over and over, rinse and repeats over and again, right? And so because of that, the load from running requires that our musculoskeletal structures are strong enough to sustain us through that high volume, and particularly for a race like Comrades. We need to ensure that the smaller muscle groups are working to stabilize, because the body's really clever, right? And so if you are doing something that, and there's a weaker muscle, what happens is that the bigger muscle is going to take over if the weaker muscle isn't working. And what that means is, because the body's a chain, it just figures itself out and it puts the load somewhere else. That might mean you land up with sore knees or sore hips or sore ankles. And we don't really, really want that. We want to make sure that we are strong enough to sustain all the volume that we want to do for Comrades. And secondly, just the biomechanics of running. And the biomechanics are different for males and females. And we want to work to make sure that we are strong enough, again, to sustain those loads. And so I don't need to go into the science and the literature to tell you that strength training reduces the risk of injuries in running. It is published. It is there. I know that runners just hate doing this. And so this is one of the main reasons why. Because, Lindsay spoke about consistency, all right? And consistency in running is going to be your biggest ally to helping you get through Comrades. Part of that, your best friend getting you through that is strength training. That's what's going to allow you to be consistent. So a niggle doesn't take you out of training for a day or 2 days or 3 days or a couple of weeks. The second aspect as to why we should do strength training is that it reduces fatigue, all right? And you eat hills for breakfast again. So yeah, I'm being a bit facetious here, but really, when we do strength training, what that does is that it improves our resistance to fatigue. Okay, so I'll just give you a random study that's done on 10,000 meter runners. Okay, so this isn't necessarily Comrades, but the principles are the same. That they took two groups, group of runners who did 10,000 meter runners. One group did strength training, one didn't. And the group who did strength training fatigued so much later in that race that it was actually chalk and cheese to see the difference between the two. And just because that's 10,000 meters doesn't mean that runs true in a race like Comrades. In actual fact, I think it is even more prevalent. I know personally, in times where I've done ultra marathons, Oceans being one of them. My Oceans last year, I was very low on mileage, but I know I'd done enough strength training to pull me through. And like Lindsay says, we do like to practice what we preach, but it absolutely reduces the fatigue of your marathon and of your ultra. So of course we want that. Again, we're going in, we're buying something and we're getting it for free, right? So why would we not want that? The second aspect of this reduced fatigue and eat heels for breakfast is Lindsay showed us this profile, right? So for at least the first 36 Ks, you are going to be climbing, right? We're going to do that nice and easy, but why would we not want something that's going to help us get over those hills any easier? So if we can use something, another aspect that's going to help us get over that, let's absolutely do it. The third aspect of this why is that you're going to get faster, right? This is very, very well researched in the literature, is that runners that do strength training get faster. And the reason for that is what we call running economy. Everyone thinks that, runners who are elites, runners who are winning, running sub or like 2 hours, 2:02, 2 hours, 2:10 as females, 2:08 as females, they have a really good VO2, and they do. The correlation between being a good runner and having a good VO2 max is high. But what really differentiates good runners to perhaps slower runners is that your running economy is good. And the best way I can explain this is think about the fuel economy of your car, right? For those of you who are international and perhaps have the, like more electric cars these days in South Africa, we still tangle with the price of fuel. And ideally, you want your car to be very economical. You want to fill your car up and you want to be able to drive faster and further, right? And that's what we want to do as a runner. We want to be able to have fuel and be able to go a little bit faster and a little bit further. And what strength training does is that strength training improves that. And in the literature, it's clear that is a 4 to 6% improvements in running economy just by doing strength training. So again, you're paying for something, you're doing strength, there's a sacrifice, but you're getting something for free. And so absolutely, these three reasons for your Comrades Marathon are why you have to be incorporating strength training, okay? We're realists here at Coach Perry, and so, what does that mean? Like, what is it, okay? Because I have a lot of people saying, well, I don't have time for gym, I don't have time for strength. And what we are talking about here is resistance training. I want you to be doing some form of resistance, some form of pushing your body against a form of resistance. For many people, that means your body weight. Okay, so if you do a push-up right now, you are pushing your body weight against a form of resistance. So what that does in the body is that it breaks down the muscle fibers, and as Lindsay mentioned with recovery, it builds itself back up. Okay, and so that is really, really important. But we want it to be running specific. Very often on our Coach Perry platform, I get complaints that our strength training isn't hard enough. And the problem as to why I think runners hate strength training is because it hurts, right? And they're not necessarily doing the right type of strength training. Your strength training is supposed to complement your running. We're wanting to be focused on the smaller muscle groups, on the prime movers for running, so your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes. But that doesn't mean you have to be going into a gym and doing, bodybuilding type stuff. We want it to complement our running. Lindsay spoke about the amount of mileage you need to be doing. And so we don't want to take away from that. We want it to complement that. And these things are there to keep you injury free or to help reduce those risk of injuries, but also to try and build up. And so let's ensure that it is running specific. And the other aspect here is that we need to have progression, right? So if you've been doing the same thing in the gym for the last 15 years, we want to make sure that there is progression. In the same way with running, we want to ensure that we are progressing your running as we're getting closer to Comrades. We want to do the same thing with strength. Of course, we will adapt that, and I'll touch on that in just a little bit as to when we want to perhaps bring the strength training down. But yeah, the next thing is the how, right? And this is where I mentioned that people are like, oh, well, Shona, I don't have time for strength. This is not something I can do. Running takes up, and don't get me wrong, we're ideal. We want to stick to the ideal, okay? But we're realists here at Coach Perry, and so ideally, twice a week is the ideal, right? But we also are believers that 2 is better than 1 and 1 is better than none. Okay, so if you can do 1 strength session from now until Comrades, that is amazing, right? And I'd absolutely love you to do that. Those sessions should be ideally in between 30 to 45 minutes. I know runners hate strength training, though. I know they absolutely do. And so one of the things that we've started to implement at Coach Perry is what we call strength snacks. Okay. And there's a lot of research that goes into this as well, is that I would far rather that you do 15 to 20 minutes of strength snacks twice a week than no strength at all. Right. So if you're doing the right exercises in the right way, and complementing your running with it, because here's the thing, you don't have to be exhausted from your strength training. It's about just complementing that. Of course, the ideal is that we get to twice a week where we can really, really build muscle to get up those hills. But if you can't get to that, then just tap into these little bit of strength snacks. Just do the right little things. And guys, it's not intense stuff, right? So little aspects where we're working on our glutes, little aspects where we're working on our lower limb. Find yourself a strength coach that is running specific, that understands running, that understands Comrades. Is really, really going to be important, and it's going to help you massively. The other aspect to strength, which a lot of people don't focus on, is the technique. Right? You can go and Google or ChatGPT a strength plan, and it's going to give you, do 5 sets of deadlifts, do 5 sets of squats. But guys, the way you do those exercises is far more important than the what of those exercises. Okay, so we do, like I say, we do very, very simple exercises on the Coach Perry platform, but it's about the how. It's about making sure that the angle is right, making sure that you're contracting the right muscle at the right time. And so it's a little bit of nuances just to make sure that you're getting the absolute value for your money. And one of the things that best value for what you do. One of the things we speak about often is this minimal dose, right? So what is the minimal amount that we can do just to elicit the right response? And that is what we want to do. We want to run, right? I mean, I'm a runner, but I love strength training, but I'm a runner as well. And we want to ensure that we are doing just the right amount, just to get us through as a minimum. Of course, if we can get to the ideal, that is what we're looking for. I wanted just to speak a little bit about, strength training and when to stop it, right? So in the same way that you build up your running and we take a little deload or recovery week, I like to call them adaptation weeks now, but in the same way that we do that, it's the same thing with strength training. So in your recovery weeks, absolutely reduce the frequency of strength training. So if you've been doing strength training twice a week in those recovery weeks, I'd highly recommend that you drop that to once a week. In our big running weeks where Lindsay has spoken around, perhaps we're doing a qualifier or a long run, our Comrades long run, we want to reduce the load of strength training in those weeks as well. And as we get closer to Comrades, and definitely as you get closer to qualifying, you want to reduce your strength training at least 10 days before that main race, before that main qualifier, and before Comrades, of course. Okay, so yeah, there are a lot of aspects here, and I know strength training freaks runners out. It makes runners just, go like, I just want to run. But guys, I absolutely can assure you that if you're running 5 or 6 times a week, if you drop one of those runs and you add in strength training, you will absolutely benefit from that, especially in a race like Comrades. And so while Lindsay has carried on about strength training, and I feel like a bit of a broken record doing the same thing, it is just, it's not necessarily a non-negotiable, but I promise you now, you won't regret it. It's one of those things that, if you have car insurance for your car, I like to equate strength training to that. Is if you don't have car insurance and you have an accident, you are absolutely going to regret that. And you're like, oh man, why did I not have car insurance? But if you have car insurance and you're like, oh, I had an accident, okay, yes, that's not great, but you know that it really benefited you. And strength training is like that. If you do it and then stop, you're like, oh man, why did I stop doing it? So yeah, I can't emphasize this enough. Find yourself a strength plan. Try and be consistent with it from now until Comrades. I'm not saying go and do 2 to 3 sessions a week at 45 minutes. If you can't handle it, try and manage those strength snacks and just be consistent with it as we go through. Good. Linz, I'll pull up some questions as we go. Let me bring you back on. Yeah, let's yeah, Linz. So strength training. I mean, before I look at these questions and comments, you mentioned you've been quite consistent, and I know you've pushed through with strength. You've also equally gone a little bit too hard with strength, and then maybe rude that as well. But yeah, you definitely do believe in it as well.
No, completely. Yeah, what's I mean, I was trained as a strength and conditioning specialist, as a rehab specialist. I worked for the best part of the first decade of my professional life in a gym. So I absolutely know what to do and how to do it. But I am an outdoors person. I love being outdoors. So it's always been a constant struggle between doing gym, and then I kind of fall into this little bit of a trap of, once I make myself do it, then I can easily get sucked into, I guess, much like people do with running, to be honest, get sucked into this trap of, it must feel like I'm getting the benefit out of this. And so, yes, I do. I tend to push myself too hard when I exercise on my own. Funnily enough, when I get into a group of people, not so much. Like, I don't know what and I think the reason why I'm saying this, Shona, is because we are all capable of doing it. And we are all capable of doing it well and doing it properly. But we all have to figure out what is the best vehicle for us to use to do it. And although I'm in a class now where I'm with an instructor, and the instructor is trying to get the most out of each individual in the class, I'm comfortable in that class to pick the appropriate weights for myself to make sure that we stick to the principles of minimum effective dose, so that I get the best out of the strength. And so, yeah, I think to your point, like, you can do this at home. You can absolutely, you don't have to be in a gym. Body weight exercises are probably enough. And if you're disciplined enough and you do enough of it to see the difference, because that's also a key for people, as soon as they see and feel the difference, it becomes easier to motivate. But find a way that works for you as an individual, and just accept that it's literally non-negotiable. If you do strength training, it makes a world of difference for races, all running, but for races like Comrades, it makes the world of difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, while we're on strength, Linz, let me just stick to that at the moment, because there's a couple of questions coming through. Yeah, let me pop this one up. Which strength exercises are non-negotiable for preventing common Comrades injuries like ITB, Achilles, and knee pain? So, Rose, great question. So a couple of things. So runners in my experience, have the worst hamstrings that I've ever seen, right? So the posterior chain. So we're looking at glutes, we're looking at hamstrings, we're looking at calves and soleus. So soleus is the muscle in the calf, not the bigger one. That's gastroc, and soleus is the one at the bottom. So yeah, so we're looking, glutes, maybe some clams. So clams are lying on your side, sort of lifting the one leg up. Hamstrings, so hip raise. And soleus, if you bend your knee when you're doing a calf raise, we're going to be looking at soleus. So just really focusing on those muscles. Again, those are pretty easy. I say easy. They considered easy exercises. If you do them right, they hurt. But yeah, and sets and rep ranges, Matthew, we're looking again. There's a lot of research that's gone into this, but for the most part, 2 to 3 sets. 8 to 15 reps is fine. Again, Lindsay and I mentioned the low, that minimal dose of what we can do. Some is definitely better than none. Yeah. All right. But Linz, let me go back and ask a couple of questions that came through a bit earlier. Sorry, let me just pull up one or two of those. I really love this question from Rhodes. I know he just asked a strength question, but this is awesome. I love it. After coaching thousands of runners, what truth about Comrades do people only understand after they've run it? Is there something that you think? Yeah,
it's
because I think it's important for novices. Sorry, let me say that. That's why I'm asking that.
It's possibly the thing that I like the most about Comrades, and Rhodes has actually he basically never misses one of our webinars. But yeah, it's what I love most about Comrades, and it's very simply this: is that for pretty much everyone in Comrades, except for maybe the winner and the runner-up, and I think even for the runner-up, there comes a point in Comrades where your time stops mattering, the color of your medal stops mattering, and the only thing that matters is finishing Comrades. And I think for me, that's one of the things that makes Comrades so special, and it keeps bringing people back, to be brutal, because every time I finish Comrades, there's this overwhelming sense of achievement and satisfaction. So I mentioned earlier in the talk the year that I dislocated a bone in my foot, and I had to walk from Kloof to the finish. Didn't run a step, walked all the way. And I finished, and I was like, I can't believe I just did that. When I did my first Comrades, I completely blew up at 50 kilometers in. And very fortunately for me, some friends picked me up in Pinetown. And I mean, it's a long 50 Ks to Pinetown, which is at about 70 Ks, a long way. 20 Ks is a very long way to feel sorry for yourself. But some friends from my running club picked me up and got me moving. And when I finished my first Comrades, I couldn't believe how hard it was to finish. And I mean, I grew up in a house with a father who's got 3 gold medals. So, I mean, I'm the very slow runner in my house. And I stood on that finish line absolutely mind blown that my father had run Comrades in under 6 hours. And when I had to walk every single step of the way in 2017, when I was well on track to run under 7 hours, run about 6 hours 45, and I ended up crossing the line in 7 hours 10. But again, I just couldn't believe the amount of pain that I had to deal with in those last 6 kilometers. So every year I've had that overwhelming sense of achievement and like respect for myself, that I was able to hold on the way that I was able to hold on. But in every single one of those races, there came a point in time where I literally couldn't care what time I actually physically ran when I crossed that finish line. It only became about making it to the finish line. And that's the thing that I love about Comrades, is that everybody gets to the point where finishing is the only thing that's important. And then when you achieve that, the victory is overwhelming. So that's the single thing. And I mean, now I'm talking from my own personal experience, but that's the story that I hear over and over and over and over again from everybody. And even when people don't get their time, and this is why I say it's so special, is that obviously I've helped a lot of people to get their time, but I've also helped a lot of people that didn't get their time. And very seldom are the people who didn't get their time genuinely disappointed, because all of them realized somewhere along the way that Comrades isn't about the time. It's about getting to the finish line and overcoming the difficulties that you will experience on the way.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Yeah, brilliant, Linz. Okay, this is also just going back a little bit to the training aspect. It's from Michaela, but I do think Michaela said that he is using his girlfriend's iPad. Nonetheless, Lindsay, you spoke about doing a max of 3 long runs before Comrades. What distance is considered a long run? Does it include Comrades? We often get this, right? Because people will go, "Oh, I'm running XXX." You know, oh, but I just qualified. Does that one count as well? So,
Yeah.
So what counts as a long run? How many long runs? Yeah, just dive through that a little bit more for us.
It's such a good question. And I actually had a call with someone earlier today, and coaches are very, very guilty of this, is that there are so many definitions that float around there for different things and jargon that we use. Now, I am super guilty of this when it comes to Comrades. When I'm talking in the context of Comrades, and I talk about the 3 long runs, I'm specifically talking about the extraordinary extraordinary, such a bad word. It's not extraordinary, it's extraordinary. So the extraordinary distances that we have to run at Comrades, those are the three that I'm talking about. So they are the runs that are 42 Ks and longer, because in South Africa, we consider a marathon a training run, which basically makes us stark raving lunatics in the rest of the world. But I'm literally, when I mention the three long runs, and I'm talking specifically in the context of Comrades, what constitutes those three long runs is runs that are 42 Ks and longer. Now it's a maximum of 3. So I love the fact that you included that in there, because most people hear what they want to hear, and so they tell people, no, Lindsay said you must do 3 long runs. No, I said you must do a maximum of, that's the most you're allowed to do. Now, what do those include? That includes your qualifier. It includes a training run, and then it includes what we call the Comrades long run. So those are the 3. It's a maximum of 3 with a minimum of 3 weeks between each one. Okay. So that is also super important. I prefer a month or 5 weeks between each of those long runs, but there must be a minimum of 3 weeks between those runs. And then typically for between the long run or the last long run and Comrades, I like 5 weeks for the majority of the field, 4 weeks for silver and faster. And so no, it doesn't include Comrades itself. And guys, it's a max. I'm me, Lindsay Perry, Coach Perry. I'm doing oceans. That's it. That doesn't mean I'm not doing long runs. And I think that's also just an important thing to differentiate. So I will still be doing plenty of 30 to 36K. So 20 mile, just over 20 mile training runs. So I'll be doing lots of long runs. I'm just not going to be doing the 42K and longer runs. 2 oceans. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, and a lot of people think more is better, and that's not always the case. So yeah, that is absolutely excellent advice. You guys, just to mention here, the next webinar that we have is coming up on the 4th of March. Okay, so any information that you're looking for on the webinars, we will have ladies or women specific webinars. Yeah, and we're going to dive into a lot more of the intricate kind of details. But the next one's coming up on the 4th of March. Check the Comrades website for these. If you registered for this one, you will likely get an email as well. Lynn's, coming back to these long runs, there was a great question here in and around pace. There we go. I love this. Yeah, Marjorie is saying, if I've already qualified and I want to run marathons and I'm a finisher, at what pace should I now run my marathons, or essentially my training runs, right? And talking about long runs, like where, and I know we'll dive into this in future webinars, but what kind of pace are we looking to run these long run, easy runs at?
Planned Comrades race pace. So, we're training for a specific time at Comrades, and we want to do those at Planned Comrades race pace. And the reason we want to do them at Planned Comrades race pace is, it's multiple. There are multiple layers to it. One of the most important is so that you actually get used to running at Comrades race pace, because one of the hardest things to do at Comrades is to run easy enough in the first 36Ks. If you've practiced it before you get to Comrades, it's much easier to run easy enough in those first 36Ks. So that's super important. Your body responds very differently at Comrades race pace to any other pace. So we get a lot of runners who only suffer with cramp in Comrades, no other races, only at Comrades. And that's quite possibly linked to that change in intensity. Sure, maybe the camber, maybe the degree of difficulty, but it's very strongly linked in the fact that they're asking their bodies to do something that their body is not used to. It doesn't know how to do it. Okay, so we really want you to get used to running at that Comrades race pace. Your sweat rates change. How your body processes nutrition changes. So you want to practice your nutrition at Comrades pace, Comrades intensity. One of the things that's a little bit harder to do on those runs is, if it's possible, to try and get something resembling race conditions. So that means don't do your Comrades long runs at 4 a.m. And I know there's some safety considerations, but also try and push yourself into warm environments. So, again, if you're doing it in a marathon, that's typically easy. And if you run at Comrades pace in South Africa, you will generally be out there long enough to actually push yourself into the heat of the day. It's about testing your equipment, your nutrition, your pace, your race strategy, your run walk strategy. So you really want to dial in your run walk strategy when you're doing that long run. So yeah, that is the intention for these runs, is to really get as close to simulating Comrades as you can.
Yeah, excellent. Love that. Thank you. Lindsay, I am cognizant of time, and you spoke around sleep as important aspects of recovery, but we are keen to answer a couple more questions if that's okay with you.
No, that's fine. I mean, we did talk for long, so let's try and answer as many as we can.
As many as we can. Cool. I'll answer the next one. A couple of people asking in and around strength work and how do we fit it in, right? So I'm saying to you that 2 is ideal, and Lindsay's saying, cool, run 4 times a week with all of this running. So if you're doing 5 running days, of course, again, just depending on whether that's the right thing for you or not. So if you're running 5 days a week, very likely you're on the Bill Rowan plan. But when is the best time to do those? So if we're doing 2 sessions a week, ideally, one of those sessions is a slightly lighter session where we're really just focusing on the stabilizing muscles, and the lighter sort of stuff. That I would do before you do an interval session. So perhaps out of the weekend into like a Monday, and then the next day perhaps an interval session, and then your second session, which may be a slightly heavier day where we're really trying to build some muscle, build some strength. So in our plans anyways, that's on a Wednesday, which leads into a midweek long run, and then obviously your weekend run. So it is key as to when you put these sessions in, but it's around how you also feeling. So if you find that you're really, really struggling with the running and the strength, let's look at that. Then maybe we need to drop that 5-day schedule to 4 days. We even drop one of the strength sessions to ensure that we have consistency with the strength as well. So just trying to manage that. But again, the strength training is not just let's kill ourselves as hard as we can. Let's complement what we want to do with our running. Linz, I'm not sure if there's anything you want to add onto that, or
the only thing that I want to add there is that I have seen much bigger improvements in performance by adding 2 days of strength training than I have to adding an extra day of running. So I kind of tend to agree, and especially now February and March, you're better off doing 4 days of running and 2 days of strength than doing 5 days of running and 1 day of strength. You'll get better performance gains from doing the extra strength. But it's if you're doing the right dose, then 5 days and 2 strengths is doable. I will typically do strength in that scenario. I'll typically do strength on one of the running days so that I can keep. So I'll do 1 day where I do strength and not run, and then 1 day where I run and do strength so that I have a full rest day. That'll be typically how I'll manage that.
I love that. And thank you for mentioning that, because this question came up as well. Is, can you do strength and an easy run in 1 day? So I'm glad you mentioned that, because for me, the most important thing is that you are getting a full rest day. So yes, absolutely, you can do strength and an easy run in 1 day. The most important aspect there for me is that, I mean, Lindsay and I joke about this all the time because I love strength. Lindsay does not love strength training. Okay. And so people go, oh, well, which do you do first? I like to do my run, and then I go and do strength. Lindsay treats his strength training like his vegetables and his Brussels sprouts. So he'll go and do his strength training and reward himself with a run. The most important aspect there, whether you're doing one or the other, is just make sure that you're fueling enough in between the two. So if you are doing your run and then strength, or whatever the case is, or vice versa, make sure that you're having some sort of fueling to mix that up. So yeah, love that. Thanks, Linz, for bringing that one up.
And there's not a lot of research on that, but the current sort of accepted wisdom, if you like, is to do the focus session for the day first. So the more important session, I guess, but the one that is, so if for whatever reason you're doing speed work and strength on the same day, which you probably shouldn't. But in that scenario, you would definitely do the speed work first. But yeah, in terms of research, the research really shows that it doesn't really make a difference. So yeah.
Agreed, Linz. Let's jump subject here, which are always a good subject to do, especially you say we're not in peak training, but let's we're moving towards that. So what kind of shoes should we be looking at? So I love the first question here. Well, we were talking about training shoes and race shoes. How do we ensure that we have the proper shoes? And then just to mention a second question, which I'll leave up there. How often should we be changing shoes? Do we need a different pair for the type of training that we're doing? And I think, guys coming into this big block of training, this is a good question.
Yeah. So look, again, there's always some personal bias in my answers because I still run a hell of a lot. And then there's also my experience with other athletes. But really, for me, Comrades is not about running in speed shoes. So, unless you are right up at the front, the sharp end of the race, I actually find that carbon shoes in particular are just so unbelievably painful to run Comrades in that my quads get so broken up and so watching and I've pointed it out to you guys on the side of the road many times, Shona, is you can literally see from people coming hundreds of meters up the road who is wearing carbon shoes and who isn't, because especially on the down run, when people get to Westville, it looks like they have absolutely no shock absorption left in their legs. It's like they're running on stilts, like wooden planks.
Matchsticks.
and the people who are wearing like very cushioned high mileage neutral trainers still have some life and some energy left in their legs. So for anyone but the sort of top 50 trying to get a gold, it's high mileage neutral trainer. Maybe a lightweight neutral trainer is still okay and has enough cushioning, but you don't want a TPU like plastic type of plate, and you don't want a carbon plate for sure. So that's in terms of racing shoes versus training shoes. The second question is, look, if you're privileged enough to be able to have multiple training shoes, it really is a good idea. So there's good research to show that there is something to be said for rotating out shoes. So I use a cushioned TPU, so that's like a type of plastic rather than a carbon plate. I use that for doing my faster runs. Then I've got a really nice lightweight neutral shoe that I'll use for my recovery and shorter runs, and I've got a really cushioned high mileage neutral trainer that I use for my long runs. So I'm very lucky. I get shoes and I can run in them and I can use different shoes. So there is something to be said for it. For the majority of people, they're typically looking at a shoe that they will use for training and racing. And so comfort is extremely important. And I would go to a specialist running store and actually go somewhere where you've got someone who's passionate about shoes to really have a good look at how you run. To be honest, I'd even go and see a fitness professional, go to one of the universities, go and see a physio bio or something along those lines, and just really make sure that you need to be, what do you need to be in? Do you need a neutral? Do you need a slight stability? Do you really seriously overpronate? Should you consider using motion control shoes? And then once you've got the shoe that you need, go into a store, try the shoes on, run in them. Make sure that shoe is comfortable for you, because all the brands are slightly different in shape and feel. They've got slightly different uppers, so that'll feel differently for you on your foot. They are, some of them are slightly wider, slightly narrower, so the fits are a little bit different. A brand like some of a brand like New Balance will have different widths. They'll have a D, an E, and a 2E, and some of the other brands also have different widths. So just go in, and then it's comfort. And then how often should you be changing shoes? Somewhere around 800 Ks. So at 800 Ks, I really start to have a look at shoes and go like,
Yes.
should the shoe be replaced? Ironically, I'm in a pair now that I have to go and get new shoes this weekend because Strava told me I've run 1,000 Ks in them. I wasn't concentrating, but I can normally feel some.
Yeah,
For
you
me,
know, you feel like you feel every like crater at the bottom of the road.
100%, and I am still heavy-ish for a runner. So especially the last few years, I'm pushing the 80 kgs. So between 600 and 80 k's, 600 and 800 k's, I can normally feel. These ones today, 1,000 k's, and I'm actually like, ooh, I better get new shoes at 1,000 k's, because that is the point that is actually quite high risk for then getting injury. So yeah, 800 k's ish is really when you want to get a new pair of shoes. And then in terms of mileage before a race, or in particular Comrades, I said in the presentation, around 200 to 400 k's is your shoe's sweet spot normally. So 150, 200 k's, that shoes really run in. It's nice and dialed into your foot. And then for the next 200 to 300 k's, that shoes normally feels really lacquer until, as Shona and I were talking about, you start to feel the ground a bit or things through whatever. So yeah, you want to try and plan your shoe purchase so that you land up on race day between 250 and 400 Ks.
Yeah, I mean it's not a cheap venture for sure. I mean, given the price of shoes lately, and of course, if everyone has that privilege of being able to do that, but maybe just link to that, and it's something we'll address in the ladies' webinars as well. Is we spend this much money on shoes, but the amount of money we spend on our sports bras is nowhere near this. So just to mention that's something that we'll address in the ladies' webinars as well. So let's we'll chat about that then. Lindsay, I want to ask this question now, but I know we'll get to this closer to race day, but I'm quite cognizant that people who are coming from overseas need to book flights, and they're getting ready to book those flights. So I want to ask this question now, which I'm coming from the UK. How many days do I need to, to acclimatize or rest in SA before race day? Nick obviously spoke around, some little nuances around your travel and stuff. But if you're booking flights now for June, how much time should you give before that?
Yeah, so look, it's a really good question, specifically for people that are coming across time zones. And from the UK, less about time zone and more just about the difference in weather. So even though June is starting to get into the northern hemisphere summer, it actually doesn't really get hot in the UK until July. And then it's still like nothing compared to the Durban winter. It's going to get up to at least 24 degrees, and we've had 28 degrees on race day. Humidity isn't high for Durban, but humidity is still going to be sitting in at least the 70s. So you are going to have to deal with humidity. So you don't have to worry about time zone changes. So to be honest, you're not going to have the sort of dip. So people that are coming from far away with 6, 7, 8 hour time zone changes, typically you hit like a horrible dip at about 4 days in. So you either want to come inside 4 days, which means you are going to be a bit tired and ratty, but it doesn't tend to impact performance too badly, or you want to come well before 4 days. So again, just in terms of getting a little bit used to the weather, I would probably come in between 5 and 6 days if it's affordable. And yeah, look, if you can't come 5 or 6 days, I would say at least give yourself 3 days. 1 day to get over the trip, 1 day to just get out there and to kind of just loosen up and get a little bit of acclimatization. And then a 3rd day where you can just put your feet up and really just mentally relax before you race on Sunday.
Awesome. Yeah. Brilliant advice. And yeah, please keep your training gear and your nutrition in your hand luggage, as Nick had hinted at as well. Love this question, Linz, because we've also had this gentleman on our Comrades podcast, our Up or Down
Yes, what a legend.
podcast. So, guys, if you want to be inspired, just go and listen to essentially the start of the Up Comrades podcast that Brad and Lindsay were running, and now I'm involved in as well. But yeah, Pacific is a phenomenal story, and I love this question as well. So, Linz, is hill so then many novices out there, is hill training different for the up versus the down? So if you've been doing the down and we focus so much on that eccentric work, how does the hill training differ for the two races?
Yeah, so it differs in its timing. And look, it's a very relevant question because Pacific lives in Bloemfontein, and Bloemfontein only has one actual hill for them to run up and down. But yeah, so it's really the timing that differs. So when I'm helping people for the down run, I like to use strength training to lay the foundation for the body to handle a bit more speed work so that we can develop that eccentric load for the down run. But then for the up run, I like to use hill training specifically for preparing the body for the Comrades. So we'll do speed work. I don't like it to be like pure speed work, more like let's call it tempo. That's still not the right word. I mean, on our plans on the website, we're doing it, but we don't push people quite as hard as we would in marathon, for example.
Yes.
But then we'll move into the hill work in late March, early April. That will be the time to start and to do that kind of all the way through until you start to taper. So that's really how we differentiate between the hill work. And people who live in extremely hilly areas, I would actually be a little bit careful with the speed work, because if you're doing all of your runs on hills and doing lots of hill work, then you do open yourself up to Achilles, hamstring, and glute tendinopathy. So if you do live in very hilly areas, you can tap off on that hill work, and it's not as necessary to do that.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, and as I say, please go and check out that podcast. Pacific, he's a loved member of our Coach Perry crew. Great link to run, walking, and hilly runs, Lynn. Sorry, and yeah, probably one or two more questions. Which is great. So Hanley is asking advice on run walk strategies in hilly races or runs. So we advocate for running and for walking, of course, and of course, Comrades, that's what you want to practice. That how do we do that in training? How do we do it in racing as well?
Yeah, so look, I'm going to give you my kind of rules that I've set up, but what's much more important than my rules are suggestion and a good starting point. And then you as an individual need to then kind of develop that strategy to something that's comfortable and sits well with you. And what I mean by that is that for a lot of people, they feel like they have to earn the walk.
Yes.
It's not a great attitude to have, because if you actually run long enough and hard enough to earn the walk, it often is too late to
benefit from it.
It's not too late to walk, but it's too late to derive the true benefit from the walk. Okay. And so really the most important rule for races like Comrades is to walk early and often. So that's the rule. And then how I split that up into practical terms is that your kind of 11 to 12 hour people, I like a 1 minute walk every 3 kilometers. So effectively, in a South African context, at every water station and or refreshment station. And really part of what that does is it allows you to make sure that you get in your nutrition and you do it well. So I typically like a 1 minute walk every 3 kilometers for your 11, 12 hour. Your 9 to 10 hour Robert Machali Bill Rowan, I like a 1 minute walk every 6 kilometers. And then your silver medal runners, a 1 minute walk every 9 kilometers. So I use 3, 6, and 9 because in a South African context, that allows everybody to tie their walks in with getting in their nutrition. And then importantly, extra walks on the hills. So if you get to a big hill and you've just had your 1 minute walk, well, walk extra on the hills. And again, I've got like a little bit of a rule there where my 11 and 12 hour runners will be like a 1 minute, or at most a 2 minute run, 1 minute walk. Then my Bill Rowan and 10-hour guys is exactly, it's a maximum of 2 minutes of running with 30 to 60 seconds of walking. And then for the silver medal guys, I typically get them to look at the big hill. So that'll be the big 5. And I will typically walk at 1/3 and 2/3. And that walk will also be between 30 and 60 seconds in length. So that's how I split it up and how I try to tell people to do it. But now what you need to do is take those numbers, practice them, and then tweak them a little bit for what feels comfortable for you.
Yeah, exactly. I think the key point there is practice them, and also just a reiteration, like walking is not weakness, especially in training as well. So just keep utilizing that. It's actually a bit of a superpower, which I like to say. Lynn's last question, which I think is really, really key, because you spoke around how, now's the time. If you have a niggle, if there's something going on, this is the time to sort this out. So this is obviously specific to Patrick's foot and heel. But you spoke briefly on it in the presentation. I just wanted to bring it up again. If you are struggling with a niggle, how do you know pain is pain? How do you, like what you mentioned a 3-point checklist that you do when you're talking about the silver guys, but what do we do? Now's the time to sort this stuff out. So just a little bit of advice if you have a bit of a niggle.
Absolutely. And really, for future webinars, I'll bring it out, because it's another one of my rules of 3. And
start calling you.
So the first thing is 2 days of rest. So when you've got something like this that feels minor, it's not too serious. Step 1, we rest for 2 days. Step 2, we apply, and that's inside the 2 days. So we don't rest 2 days and then do step 2. Step 2 happens at the same time, and we apply ice, and we try and reduce inflammation. And then if we are still feeling that niggle, or if the niggle feels okay, but we go for a run and it comes back straight away, then it's step 3, treatment. Okay. So that works so well, because then if it's stiffness because you've overdone it, then I promise you, day 1, day 2, it'll be gone. And if you follow that step of 1, 2, 3, you probably will very rarely. Now, I've noticed that South Africans say rarely very badly. Okay. So seldom. Let me use the word seldom. If you follow this process, you will very seldom miss more than 5-6 days of training. And if you only miss 5-6 days of training every now and then, that's hardly any training at all. But if you ignore and you just try and train through, that little niggle that you're feeling on the foot heel could be the insertion of the Achilles, or it could be the plantar. That becomes chronic, and you suddenly missing 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks of training. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
So that 1, 2, 3 means that you'll very seldom miss more than 2 days of training, to be honest. But if you do need some treatment, 4 or 5 days of training, ignore it, and you're going to miss loads of training, and you're going to become one of that 68%. Yep,
absolutely. Lindsay, one of the standout things for me with the clients I work with is also pain at night. Pain at night is that's a big. It really scares me. And how often you feel. But I love this 3-step process. Runners, this culture of no pain no gain. Let's just push through. It's gonna break your comrades, and that's not what we're looking to achieve here. So, but yes. Linz, we've been going for 2.5 hours. I really there's some great comments, and people have got some value from this. Any parting shots? There are webinars coming up and road shows coming up. So check
Yeah.
the Comrades website for those. But parting shots from you here as we head
Yeah,
out.
and importantly, the next webinars, because I won't cover so much of the general stuff again. It'll be quite specific. So typically these will be with plenty of Q&A. Will be done by 9 o'clock for the future ones. So please jump in. So no, I don't have any more specific advice. I've really given it all. Just that I'm very excited for 2026. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I don't know if Nick's advice for the novice was put into the general forum.
I did. I popped it in there.
Yeah. Oh, did you pop it in there?
Okay, no, read
great.
it out anyways, because anyone who's
then-
watching is gonna see listen to it. So yeah, do that.
Yeah. So and I really do like this for the novice. So what Nick meant to say out loud when we interviewed him, but has written here, and I really like this piece of advice. Go to your comrades to find your vibe. Then go and write your own story. Believe in yourself and run your own race. The medal is earned in training. So put in what you can now, and the reward will surely come. So that really, I think, encompasses what the next few months are about. Thank you for that, Nick. Thanks for being on tonight. Thanks to everybody for joining us. It does feel weird sometimes not being able to see everybody.
Yes.
It does feel a little bit disconnected, but I know that we are speaking to loads of people. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, you've made me tear up, and what you guys will learn about me very, very soon is that I cry very easily, and this race is one of those things that brings out all the emotion, and I just absolutely love it. So Nick, thank you for your value. Nontu, thank you for your value. Lindsay, as always, thank you so much for bringing so much value. And guys, there are so many of these. If you are a novice, if you're slightly nervous, if you're not a novice and you are still slightly nervous, if you think that you've been doing things slightly wrong, this is the place where you're going to get all the value that's going to help you along the way. So check out the Comrades website. Just make sure you tune into the next one. But yeah, hope you guys got a ton of value from this. Have an awesome rest of your evening, and we'll see you guys all again soon. Thanks, guys.